dropped my bag on the table, kicked off my shoes, and started toward the bedroom to change. That's when I noticed it. The mirror on my wall, an old, full-length thing with a thin, black metal frame, caught my attention as I walked past. It wasn't unusual. I'd had it for years, picked it up at a thrift store because it fit the narrow space between the closet and the door. But that night, something about it felt off. At first, I couldn't even say why. Maybe it was the lighting. The sunset bleeding through the blinds, throwing strange shadows across the walls. But as I moved, I realized something wasn't right with the reflection. It was subtle at first. My movements in the mirror were delayed, just by a fraction of a second. I thought it was my imagination. I stopped, took a step closer, and stared at my own reflection. And that's when the chill ran through me. The figure looking back wasn't me. It was close. So close that my brain tried to fill in the blanks. Same posture, same hair, same shirt. But the longer I looked, the more wrong it seemed. The face was too thin. The shoulders were narrower. And the eyes. They weren't reflecting light the way they should have. They were dark, deep, empty, like holes punched through glass. I remember whispering, "What the hell?" before realizing that my reflection hadn't set it back. It was still, completely still. Then as I stared, its head tilted slightly to the side. Not the way I would have moved. Something slower, more deliberate, as if it was studying me. That was enough to make me stumble backward, heart hammering. My first thought was that it was a trick of the light. Maybe I was overtired, maybe there was a delay in my perception, something explainable. I even turned away for a second, rubbed my eyes, tried to laugh it off. But when I looked back, it was still there. And this time, it moved. The motion was jerky, like an old video skipping frames. It took a step closer to the surface, and the glass seemed to ripple slightly around it. My breath caught in my throat. Its mouth opened like it was trying to form words, but no sound came through. The air around me grew colder, heavier. My stomach turned, and all I could think was that I needed to leave. I don't remember locking the door behind me. I just remember the sound of my own heartbeat in my ears as I ran down the hall, down the stairs, out into the street. I stopped only when I was under the harsh glow of the streetlights. When I finally looked up at my window from outside, everything looked normal. The blinds were still drawn. The apartment was quiet and dark. I told myself I was exhausted, that it had been an optical illusion, or maybe a panic episode brought on by stress. I'd been working late for weeks, barely sleeping. My mind had probably just slipped. That's what I told myself. And for a while, I almost believed it. The next evening, I went back. I wasn't going to let my own reflection chase me out of my apartment. It was ridiculous. I had even laughed about it to a coworker that morning. Told her I had spooked myself with a trick of the light. She joked that I should stop watching horror movies before bed. By the time I got home, I was determined to act normal. I kept the lights on as I unpacked groceries, humming to fill the silence. Everything looked fine. The mirror was just a mirror. I could see my reflection clearly as I passed the doorway. Nothing unusual. I felt stupid for even being nervous. Then I heard the tapping. It started faintly, like water dripping somewhere, or maybe the creak of an old pipe. I tried to ignore it, kept unpacking, but it didn't stop. The sound was steady, tap, tap, tap. I turned off the faucet just to check. but the noise continued. And it was coming from the bedroom. I told myself it was nothing, maybe the building settling. I took a few slow steps toward the door, my heart thudding harder with each one. The tapping grew sharper, more deliberate. By the time I reached the doorway, it sounded like fingernails against glass. "Hello?" I said, though I don't know why. Silence. Then, softly, almost like a breath, the sound of my name. "Anna." I froze. The voice wasn't loud, but it didn't come from any direction. It wasn't outside the room or inside it. It just was, hanging in the air, vibrating somewhere deep in my chest. I felt the hair rise on my arms. Slowly, I turned my head toward the mirror. The surface shimmered, like heat rising off pavement. My reflection wavered, then sharpened, and there it was again. The figure, only this time, it wasn't standing in the same place as me. It was behind the glass, in a room that looked almost like mine, but darker, with no light and no depth. Its face was clearer now, pale, gaunt, with hollow eyes that didn't blink. It smiled faintly. I stumbled back, and the bedroom door slammed shut with a force that rattled the frame. I screamed and pulled at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Inside, I could hear faint laughter, or maybe whispering, coming from the other side of the glass. I don't remember what I said, but I begged, pleaded, cursed. The mirror fogged over like someone was breathing on it. Then, just as suddenly, it cleared. The figure was gone. When I finally wrenched the door open, the room was still. The mirror looked completely normal. My reflection stared back, pale and shaking, but it was just me. My phone buzzed in my pocket, dozens of missed texts from friends. "Are you okay? You haven't answered. What's going on?" I hadn't realized it was already after midnight. I hadn't been in that room more than a few minutes, or at least, it hadn't felt that way. That night, I didn't sleep there. I grabbed a bag and left. I stayed with a friend across town and told her I was having problems with the building's plumbing. I didn't tell her about the mirror. How could I? Days passed, then weeks. I didn't go back except once during daylight to collect the rest of my things. I tried not to look at the mirror, but I caught sight of it anyway as I packed. The surface looked harmless. I told myself I'd throw it away before I left for good, but somehow I couldn't bring myself to touch it. I ended up leaving it behind. After that, things quieted down, mostly. I stayed with a friend, then found a new place on the other side of town. Bright apartment, lots of windows, no mirrors except the one over the bathroom sink. For a while, I thought I'd left it all behind. Then, little things started happening. I'd be walking through a store, past a row of mirrors or glossy appliances, and something in the reflection would catch my eye. Just a flicker, like someone moving behind me. I'd turn and there'd be nothing there. Once, while checking my hair in a hotel mirror, I saw a shape behind my shoulder, a thin silhouette standing too close. I blinked and it was gone. Sleep didn't come easily anymore. Every creak in the dark made my pulse quicken. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and feel like someone was standing near the foot of my bed. But the room would always be empty when I turned on the light. I started avoiding mirrors altogether. I'd brush my teeth without looking up, cover reflective surfaces when I could. But avoidance only worked for so long. One night, maybe a month after moving, I was walking home late. The street was quiet, the kind of quiet that made your footsteps sound too loud. I passed a shop window and glanced sideways without meaning to and stopped. In the glass, my reflection was walking with me, but slightly out of sync. Its stride was slower, When I stopped, it didn't. It took one more step, then tilted its head in that same unnatural way I'd seen before. I could barely breathe. Then, just for an instant, I saw it smile. I stumbled back onto the sidewalk, heart racing, eyes watering from fear. When I looked again, the reflection was normal. Just me, wide-eyed and trembling. That was the last time I went anywhere near that part of town. I've tried to find explanations. Hallucination, stress, sleep deprivation, something neurological. I even went to a doctor, but after a few vague answers and some sleeping pills, I stopped mentioning it. It's not that I want to believe in something supernatural. I really don't. But every logical answer feels too thin to hold up under what I saw. There was a man who moved into my old apartment a few months after I left. I thought about warning him, but what would I even say? Be careful with the mirror. It would sound ridiculous. Still, sometimes I wonder if he's noticed anything strange. If he's heard tapping behind the walls or caught his reflection staring too long. Once, out of curiosity, or maybe desperation, I went back to the building. I didn't go inside, just stood across the street and looked up at the window. The blinds were open this time. For a moment, I thought I saw movement, just a shadow passing by the glass, but it might have been nothing. I hope it was nothing. Now, whenever I pass a mirror, I feel that same electric pull, like something on the other side is aware of me, waiting. I tell myself it's all in my head, that fear can make patterns where there are none. But some nights, when the room is dark and the light from my phone catches the edge of a mirror, I swear I see a faint outline, taller, thinner than me, just standing there, patient as ever, watching. And I know, deep down, that whatever I saw that summer didn't stay in that apartment. It's still out there, somewhere behind the glass, waiting for the next person to look too long. I don't tell people this story anymore. They either laugh or look uncomfortable, and I can't blame them. I wish I could laugh too. I wish I could tell myself it was nothing but a stress-induced hallucination, a trick of the light. But every once in a while, when I'm getting ready for bed, I'll catch a glimpse of my reflection moving just a little too late. And that's when I remember the cold air, the tapping, the whisper of my name. And I know that some things, once seen, never really let you go.